Hello everyone, my name is Griffin and we are back with another reaction video. We are reacting to a Sydney Watson video. This one is called The Attack on Male Gamers Continues. I honestly didn't know there really was an attack on male gamers, probably because I don't really pay attention to the shit that's going on around me. But let's see what Sydney has to say, shall we?
In my opinion, I think that, I don't know, there's something a little bit childlike about it, a grown man to be playing games, and it is a huge, huge turn off for me, and I'm bloody glad my man doesn't play video games.
You know, I don't see how it's childish. I mean, it's not childish to play video games because there are a lot of video games out there that are rated for 17 and older, which is rated M for mature, for adults. And kids can't play those games, or at least are not allowed to play those games, or shouldn't be playing those games. Although parents let them play those games, so, you know, it's a fail on their part. But either way, video games aren't just for kids. So I think it's annoying when people make statements like this and they're just unaware of their own ignorance. But let's continue with what this idiot has to say.
I don't have anything meaningful to say about this. I just want to tell her to shut up.
I mean, hell, even Sydney Watson plays video games. Hell, she played Dead Space, which I thought was freaking hilarious. Because Dead Space is one of the most awesome games out there, and it's one of the more terrifying ones.
My name is Sydney, welcome back to hell. And as per usual, before we launch in, today's video is sponsored by Manukora. And of course, by my company, Lions Tea Exchange. In addition to my regular wonderful flavors, I now have 3 new limited edition flavors that are now available on the site for pre-sale. I think they're all really good, but I am a huge fan of the peppermint white chocolate, but you guys seem to be really excited about the bourbon barrel chai. No surprises there. I also have these beautiful wooden gift boxes that are available too for pre-sale for the holiday season, or just generally if you want a beautiful box. And as you guys know, these are made here in the US of A, and the company that I work with plants a tree for every order placed, which honestly I think is pretty cool. I will link all of this in the description box if you would like to support my channel and my tea company. It all means a lot and I love you guys very much. Okay, back to the video. Now, I know I'm slightly late to this conversation because it took place a couple weeks ago, but a lot of things were also happening during that time. Like the mystery of who is eating the cats.
They're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats.
And I needed to show you all.
I was always wondering why on Twitter I kept seeing fucking pictures of Donald Trump with cats. I don't pay attention to the debate because I just see it as a couple of people arguing over stupidity that don't really care about anything but themselves. But I just kept seeing pictures of Donald Trump with cats, and I was wondering why the fuck is my page being flooded with Donald Trump and cats. Now I think I know why.
All my breakdancing prowess, okay? Now, like I said a few weeks ago, the conversation, or the debate, if you will, around men playing video games being unattractive was once again resurrected. This has been going on for quite some time, but periodically.
Then we could say women plastering makeup on their face like they just dunked their face in a fucking cake is also stupid.
Someone, somewhere, for some reason, brings it back up. And every time this happens, it seems that people want to congregate around the idea that men playing video games is bad, and gaming is bad overall. Say the people who probably like crocheting or something. Depressingly, when I started looking for videos on this issue, I actually...
Look, there are some games that are really dumb and childish. Battle Royale games being really dumb. In my opinion, I hate Battle Royale games because they're just toxic as fuck and boring as hell. But, I mean, what? Would you rather have your boyfriend out there doing God knows what with God knows who, possibly coming home high or drunk off his ass? I mean, I think a lot of women would rather have their boyfriend at home doing shit like this, where they know he's safe and he's okay, and you know, he's not out there trying to harm himself or possibly cheating.
Actually came across this bizarre trend on TikTok where women say that they're men being happy while
Listening to your man on his headset to he's lady, the ick should be on you for your fucking English. Jesus Christ. It should be listening to your man on his headset to his the entire sentence is god awful. Jesus Christ.
while playing games gives them the ick. So there's that.
Shut up, kill yourself.
Just launch me to Jupiter at this point. Anyway, this time the conversation started when conservative commentator Liz Wheeler posted a graph of the hobbies women reportedly find the least attractive.
Let's see. 90 said playing video games. Let's see. This is 100% true. Men playing video games is peak unattractive, beyond red flag. Like deal breaker zone. It's weird that so many dudes don't get this. So, really? Gambling is seen as more attractive than playing video games. Online trolling is seen as more attractive than playing video games. Where the hell are y'all standards at? What the fuck? Collecting figurines, magic tricks, building model trains, taxidermy, comic book collecting, bird watching. This is so fucking stupid. Where the hell are... You know what? I think a lot of shit y'all women do is fucking unattractive as hell as well. Y'all's online trolling is probably a lot more unattractive than a guy's online trolling, considering how vicious and horribly... Just how horrible y'all ladies can be. Collecting figurines... I don't see what's wrong with that. There are plenty of people who do that, both men and women. I mean, both men and women do all this stuff. It's just... What the hell is wrong with y'all? What... You shouldn't put somebody down for having a hobby. Or doing something they love doing. What the fuck is wrong with that? Unless... It shouldn't matter. The only time a person's hobby should matter at all to anyone else other than the person is if it's harming himself or anyone else around him. At that point, then it should be seen as a problem. But this is just stupid.
At the top of the list was playing video games, followed by collecting figurines, magic tricks, and online trolling. But apparently, we all love a good bird watcher. So that's a win for the birdophiles. I have absolutely no idea what bird enthusiasts are called. Birder. Well, at least that's memorable.
The acceptable term used to describe the person who seriously pursues the hobby of birding may be professional or amateur. Birding, a hobby in which individuals enjoy the challenge of bird study, listening, or other general activities involving bird life. That's a weird term. It looks like it doesn't even make any grammatical sense. A birder or birding. It just sounds like it doesn't make sense.
I guess that's an improvement on what the train people are called. Hootie tooters? Hooter tooters? This graph, which obviously is not based on real evidence, was posted along with Wheeler's commentary, which read, "This is 100% true. Men playing video games is peak unattractive, beyond red flag, like deal breaker zone.
Look,
It's weird."
I don't, this is probably just my opinion, but I think probably the majority of women don't really see men playing video games as unattractive. Because because there are a lot of women nowadays, especially nowadays, looking back in the past 10 years or so, especially nowadays, there are more women than ever playing video games. It's coming close to probably there are just as many women as there are men who play video games. There probably are, although it's probably still more majority dominated by men. But every year, more and more women get into games. I think it's awesome. They start to see how fun it is and everything. But shut the fuck up, Liz.
So many dudes don't get this. You want to know what I don't get? Why it's taken me so long to hear about the wonderful sponsor of today's video, Manukora. I have spent most of my
sorry,
adult
Sydney.
life in search of for $25
I'm
off
sorry, Sydney, but I skipped the ad.
when you buy a startational post. After a huge amount of pushback, Wheeler followed up with a few additional posts, including another tweet where a woman wrote, "Women don't dislike video games because they're geeky, we dislike them because they're antisocial and consumption-based."
Video games are antisocial. Have you played a multiplayer game or an MMORPG? You're basically... You play with other people, if not forced to play with other people. It is one of the most social things you can do is play video games. I mean, look at fucking Call of Duty and Fortnite. You're constantly playing with people around the country and around the world. It's one of the most social things in the world that you can do, is play video games.
Like if a woman said TikTok or online shopping was her hobby. Hobbies should include actually doing, making, or learning something.
Not all hobbies involve making, learning, or doing something. That's just, some people's hobby is just... Okay, a hobby is doing something. But not all hobbies are making or learning something. And honestly, any woman who says that her hobby is TikTok or online shopping, I guarantee you is 10 times worse than a hobby of video games.
Last time I checked, gaming is doing something? What is this? What am I even...
Yeah, gaming is doing something, making something, and learning something. It's all three in one. So, you kind of lost your point there.
Reading here. Doubling down even further, Wheeler also wrote that video games are sedentary, consumptive, fantasy steeped in immorality that have serious negative real-world side effects on the men who play them. This tweet was very long, so I'm just gonna...
4 in 10 American men between the ages of 18 and 50 play between 1 to 3 hours of video games every day. That's... Well, yeah, because, it can be very therapeutic. And 2, it's relaxing, depending on what game you play. That's a lot. Maybe a bigger problem than I realized when I post the meme. Yes, a meme. Fucking bug. There are much worse hobbies than playing video games. Some of y'all need to loosen up and laugh at the funny meme that triggered you. But video games are a net negative on society when you measure the increase in aggressive behavior, desensitization to violence, anxiety, mood disorders, social adjustment difficulties, nightmares, and sleep disorders correlated to gaming. I'm sorry, but I think gaming is one of the smallest percentages when it comes to that stuff. I mean, there have been studies that have gone on where people who've played the most aggressive, violent games there are tend to be the most kindest and gentlest people. I mean, movies and TV shows tend to have more of an effect than video games do on people. But it's mostly just the environment environment and how you were raised. It's not because the small percentage is video games when it comes to all this stuff. It's pretty simple. Women are attracted to men based on men's ability to protect, provide, produce, and procreate. Hobbies that illustrate that ability are attractive to women. Hobbies that do not are not. Just because somebody plays video games doesn't mean they're unable to protect, provide, produce, and procreate. It doesn't mean that they're excluded from any of that. There are plenty of top tier men who play video games. I mean, one of the most famous ones would be Henry Cavill. Look at him. He's jacked. He is a very successful actor. He's able to protect, he's able to provide, he's able to produce, procreate, and he's one of the biggest nerds out there when it comes to celebrities. So, I mean, when there are people who say that a gamer is unattractive because they play video games and they're seen as somebody who's unable to do any of those four things or all four of those things, is completely ignorant of the fact that they are able to do all of those things if they don't let video games consume the entirety of their life. Which I have yet to really see any that happen to anybody. And yes, of course, there are toxic hobbies women have too. TikTok, online shopping, Real Housewives. But this was never about a war between sexes. Well, you're kind of making it a war between the sexes, you dumb bitch. It was never an attack on men. Apparently it was. Despite what you think, you would put the attack on men. I love y'all. That's why I want you to stop playing video games and laugh at the hilarious meme. I mean, did you see the part about taxidermy? You made this as a backpedal because of all the backlash you fucking got on the goddamn post. I mean, if you make it as satire or a joke, make sure you actually put it in the freaking description that it is satire or a joke. When you say this is 100% true, that this is how women feel and that it's unattractive for men to do this stuff, without ever mentioning or stating that it's satire or a joke, people are going to take you fucking seriously because it's the goddamn internet. And so I think you just made this stuff to backpedal on your dumbass shit that you decided to post.
Summarize the generality of it, which was that video games are a net negative on society based on the fact.
And no, they are not a net negative on society. If anything, they're either a net neutral or a net positive.
Fact that they reportedly lead to aggressive behavior, desensitization to violence, anxiety, mood disorders, and so on and so forth. She also asserts that women are attracted to men based on a man's ability to protect, provide, produce, and procreate. Hobbies that illustrate that ability are attractive to women. Hobbies that do not are not. Not to be a jerk, at least not intentionally, but isn't reading sedentary? And isn't buying random female crap for your house consumptive? Do you want to go and have a conversation with the immoral smut-reading ladies over on Book Talk? Would you like to have a word?
God.
I really don't mean to be so sarcastic about all of this. It just really irritates.
And you want to know what's one of the most unattractive things a female can have for her life? Is those who obsess over the fucking killers and murder shit. Ladies out there who are obsessing over Wade Wilson, or whatever that fucking criminal's name is. Y'all ladies really need to get a hold on your fucking horniness over goddamn murderers and criminals. Jesus Christ. So get a hold on that sort of shit before you come after us for playing video games.
Irritates me. Of course, the icing on the cake here is the entire live stream that Wheeler decided to make about this topic, addressing the blowback that she'd received and saying that lots of people were unkind to her about it and she didn't like that, which...
You know what? I think, look, it's never nice to be going to attack somebody for a post that they made. But the thing I find funny is as soon as somebody makes a post and then they get a shit ton of backlash on it, they go and either make a video or another post backpedaling on what they say, saying that it's only a joke. It's like, no, you're saying it's a joke because you had all this backlash you had on the post that you obviously 100%, were behind. Like I said, if you are making a post and you are making it as satire or a joke, unless you make it an obvious joke or satire, you should probably put in the description of it that it is satire or a joke, because it's the internet. And when you say this is 100% true fact, you're just a fucking dumbass.
Honestly, yeah, fair enough. This video is really long and she burned through a lot of points very quickly and we don't have time to unpack them, but I overall felt really irritated watching Wheeler's live stream, and my takeaway was just generally, tell me you've never played video games without telling me you've never played video games. She again brought up that it makes people more desensitized and prone to violence because apparently we're resurrecting 90s talking points. I don't know.
Video games do not lead to violence. It has been disproven on pretty much every single level. If anything, movies and TV shows more often than video games, or movies and TV shows tend to lead to violence better than video games ever would lead to violence. And like I said, it all depends on the parents that raised you and the environment you grew up in. That will determine your way of thinking and how you act in life. The smallest percentage that will influence anybody is TV shows, movies, and video games. If anything, video games tend to calm a lot of people down and keep them away from the fucking violence.
I thought we were over this. Look, I don't know Liz personally, and so I don't want anyone to perceive this as me attacking her because she seems like a nice lady, but I do find her opinion and this extended opinion really frustrating. I think there's a trend on the right side of politics where some conservatives in particular like to fully reject and stomp on really important cultural and entertainment-based mediums. And even if the intention behind that is a noble one, I still think it comes across as really controlling and fun policing. Listen, even people with daddy issues don't want to be parented this hard. I mean, they do want something hard, but it's not parenting.
Sydney!
All of
She needs someone to bonk her with a fucking hammer. Okay, there's another thing I want to say. I've been gaming for almost 30 years. I am one giant walking fucking example of the fact that video games don't lead to violence or anxiety or depression or any of that shit that her post said. I am perfectly fine. The only reason I would have any problems whatsoever is for the environment I grew up in and how I was raised. Hell, I grew up watching horror. I grew up on Freddy fucking Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Leatherface, Ghostface. I grew up on basically all the horror out there and the slasher killer movies. And I grew up with probably one of the most violent video games you can play throughout the years. I'm not going out on the streets causing any sort of violence to anybody because I know it's wrong. I know it's against the law and I know it's morally wrong. I know it's just fucking stupid. So to say video games lead to violence or lead to all this sort of stuff is extremely disingenuous and ignorant as all hell. So
of this to say, in the long run, I don't think it's very helpful, and I'm sure some of you will disagree with that, and that's okay. Feel free to scream at me in the comments.
No! No!
Anyway, about a week later, another video popped up where a woman called Bex from the radio show 102 Philly was similarly articulating why she doesn't like men playing video games. She said that it was lazy and generally unproductive.
But the whole gaming thing...
What's the problem? Jacqueline has this big problem too. Because
it's just lazy. It feels like unless you're getting paid, and there's a line, right? Like, it's cool if you want to do it every so often, but to me, I'm like, go educate. Like, go do something productive.
But what is the problem? Like,
See, look, I look, when it comes to what people find attractive and what people find unattractive, it is fine if one of their preferences is that the person they want does not play video games. That is perfectly fine if you find video games unattractive. I got nothing wrong with that. But to say video games overall is being lazy, unproductive, has no education or anything is completely disingenuous and ignorant of video games. And there's nothing wrong with video games. To say, for anyone to say that there is something wrong with video games, again, disingenuous and ignorant.
you know, Jacqueline has a big problem with it too. Whenever she hears the PlayStation start up, like I gotta
Here
hear
we
the
go.
huffing and puffing.
Yeah.
But if I were to just have TV on, you'd be on TikTok as it is, not
Because
paying
it's
attention.
not that-
So why does it bother you?
Because it's not the distraction of me being on TikTok and us watching TV. It's what you could be doing with that time.
There it is, and that's what I knew it.
It's
I knew
what
it.
you could-
You women want to task us so bad.
No.
that-
Yeah. See, it makes no sense that I don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend or whatever, that she would have a problem with him turning on the PlayStation and playing games, but have no problem whatsoever with him sitting down and watching TV while she's on TikTok. Logically and realistically, that makes no sense. It's no different for him to be playing video games and her on her phone on TikTok than him watching TV and her doing the exact same thing and being on her phone on TikTok. There is no difference whatsoever. If anything, him playing video games is him being more productive than him watching TV. So you have no ground to stand on for your point here.
You're so pissed
No,
that we're taking
no,
time
no.
from doing something.
No.
Wait a minute, you're enjoying things? You have time to do this video
see,
game?
here's the thing
Ah,
is-
here's all the things you
But
could be
here's
doing.
the thing, you're enjoying it, but you could also be planning something nice for us. You know, like
You don't need to be planning something nice for you to do every single minute of the day or every single day of the year. You don't need to be doing that. You can this is a thing with a lot of relationships, that you don't always have to be doing something. You need times where you can do something relaxing. Like you each don't need to be doing something together all the time. Both of you can be doing something individually that you both like. But you shouldn't have a problem every single time you hear your man turn on the Xbox or the PlayStation and him wanting to do something he enjoys and he finds relaxing. Don't go in your head as soon as you hear that thing turn on going, "Oh, he's playing video games again." No, bitch, shut the fuck up. Let him relax. Let him do what he likes doing. If you don't like it, well, oh fucking well. If you think he's doing it too much and you'd like for him to spend some more time with you, let him know. Talk to him. Don't throw a fucking fit about him going on the PlayStation or the Xbox or the fucking computer. But don't make it so that he can never go on and do that stuff and he knows you have a fucking problem with it. Let the man play his video games every once in a while. Don't suck the joy out of what he loves doing.
Like I mentioned, this is not the first time that this type of criticism has come up. A couple years ago, 3 more women got a lot of heat online for making fun of men who game, with one of the women even suggesting there's a correlation between gaming and the being bad in the bedroom or having small male genitalia.
I'll be honest with you, not if I think of the top 10 best dicks I've ever had, they didn't play video games. So I'm convinced
I swear to God, women like this should not have a fucking podcast. They should not have a fucking podcast because you know what? If they think video games have no contribution to society or anything, then women like this should not have a podcast because they have no fucking, intellectual thing to contribute to society or to anyone else who listens. I don't care if women want a podcast, but I don't think women like this should have one. because they're just being intellectually dishonest with their entire viewership.
Games are for mediocre.
Well, I grew up as a gamer, so it was okay with it. That was quite all right with me. I got excited
I don't know
too.
what grown man is spending that much time playing video
There's
games.
a lot of grown men spending a lot of time.
And
on
I
this
don't think
bullshit.
that they're. I don't think that you could be a great partner or a great lover as a grown man spending time playing.
I have a couple giant fucking examples of who are probably great partners and great lovers who will play video games. Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, or Sean, I don't know his last name, PewDiePie. Look at those guys. Yes, they do it for a living. They get paid for it. But you know what? They play video games a lot. It's intellectual dishonesty. It's what this fucking is.
If you're like,
This is such a weird statement. Do you always?
I mean, hell, look at a lot of the streamers out there, and they'll tell you that they've met their partner through a video game. Hell, there are plenty of couples out there who met their partner through fucking World of Warcraft. And they're still fucking, and some of them are married and have kids. So you can't say that no gamer can be a good lover or a good partner. Because there are plenty who've met their partner and have kids and are married through fucking video games. Video games are the reason that there are a lot of couples out there that are together. If it weren't for the video games, a lot of those couples would not be together or would not have ever met. Because these video games bring people together all around the fucking world.
Always judge the appropriateness of a hobby based on man pickles and their performance? Is this a legitimate metric? Why are people like this? I mean it. Put me in the cannon and launch me to Jupiter. So I have a very vested interest in this topic, both as a woman and as a person who plays video games. So I do feel that it is pretty important to come to the defense of male gamers, and I guess just really any gamer in general. Because if the criticisms that I've so far highlighted in this video are anything to go by, I think people's perceptions of this industry and those who enjoy games are completely off base. And I think it's generally wild to say that gaming is not a hobby, and if it is, it's one that's overall unattractive to women. Because I would argue in many cases that is not true. I mean, first and foremost, the gaming industry as a whole has changed dramatically over the last few decades, and video games have accelerated in scale and quality during that time too. Rather than games appealing to a small portion of people, now anyone anywhere can play them, which is why the industry has become so enormous. There are so many different stories being told, so many different ideas being explored, and let's remember, importantly, that the amount of women playing games has also grown more and more, and is continuing to do so. And no, Animal Crossing and The Sims don't count as gaming. Please stop this. Point being, video games themselves and the gamers who play them come in all forms, and I don't think it's fair to tar everyone with the same brush. With that said, I do understand why some people, some being the operative word, find gaming to be an unattractive hobby, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. Number one, when most of us millennials were growing up, which is what our friend Liz Wheeler is, we were only really then starting to see sort of a shift in the way that people viewed men and video games. Until this point, I think it's fair to say that gamers were largely associated with the basement-dwelling dorks who played World of Warcraft from dawn until dusk. And whether that view is true or not, whether it's fair or not, that's what
originally that was me back in the day. That's how it really started out, is that video gamers were seen as people who lived in their mother's basement, who were basement dwellers, or who were just hermits that never got out and saw the world or touched grass. And were just seen as somebody who, or just seen as a thing in the nerd community that only nerds and geeks did. And it's like D&D. But over time, especially in the past, I'd say 10 years mainly, that the women who have got on got on board with gaming has exploded. I mean, look at how many female streamers and female gaming content creators there are. It's amazing how many women have got on the video gaming train and found that they absolutely love it and share it with the community and share it with their friends and get more female gamers. And the amount of female gamers there are grows every single year. It's going to get to the point, if it keeps growing, it's going to get to the point where there are just as many female gamers as there are male gamers, if not more female gamers than there are male gamers. Or it'll probably, even out at some point. None will go more than the other probably, but still, it's exploded for how many female gamers there are. And it's amazing that both genders can come together and enjoy something that was mainly only shared in one gender.
Was portrayed predominantly in media, entertainment, and by all the kids, all those boys that we went to high school with. I can actually testify to this because I fully remember my older brother sitting in the office all day playing WoW. And sometimes painting Warhammer. I think he still paints Warhammer. To be completely fair to my brother, because, he will probably watch this video, he is in fact the reason why I like gaming at all. And I also remember sitting next to him, watching him play Spyro, because little sister. Now that I'm thinking about it, I also remember his LAN parties with his nerd friends, so...
Oh, God. LAN parties. Especially Halo LAN parties. My God, those were the days when Halo and Call of Duty was actually good.
I really love aging myself there. Anyway, this type of visual and this messaging has definitely been ingrained in a lot of us because it's also what we were exposed to in pop culture. And it's probably why a bunch of elder millennials and people who are older than elder millennials especially view gamers through this lens. Actually, hilariously, when I was researching for this video,
Looks and gaming, who and why. Andy Chung, Daniel S., Hammermesh, Carl Singleton, Zhengjing Wang, and Junseng Zhang. I hope I pronounced those last two names correctly. We investigated the relationship between physical attractiveness and the time people devote to video/computer gaming. Average American teenagers spend 2.6% of their waking hours gaming, while for adults, this figure is 2.7. We adults are beating by 0.1. Using the American Ad Health Study, we show that adults who are better looking have more close friends. Arguably, gaming is costlier for them, and they thus engage in less of it. Physical attractive teens are less likely to engage in gaming at all, whereas unattractive teens who do game spend more time each week on it than other gamers. Attractive adults are less likely than others to spend any time gaming, and if they do, they spend less time on it than less attractive adults. Using the longitudinal nature of the Ad Health Study, we find supportive evidence that these relationships are casual for adults. Good looks decrease gaming time, not vice versa. Hell, one of the most attractive gamers on this planet is fucking Henry Cavill.
So I found out that the attractiveness of male gamers and how much they game is still being studied because they guess this is a stereotype that never dies. The second reason, and I think this is more applicable across the board, is it is unattractive to come home to your man sitting on his butt all day playing video games. On the weekends, gaming. All day, gaming. Every single weekend, gaming. Can't pull himself away for long enough to spend time with you or to be a father or a husband or...
I'm pretty much on my computer all day, every day when I'm not at work because, one, I do content creating like this. I also stream. And two, because everything else to do is fucking expensive. And I need money to pay my bills and buy food. So if things weren't as expensive, I probably would go out at least once or twice a week, like bowling or something like that, because other than video games, bowling is something I love doing. But shit's expensive out there. And I need food and I need to be able to pay my bills because I don't make that much. So, yeah.
Whatever. When it becomes an addiction that consumes you, yes, that is a problem and that is unattractive. And this is the primary criticism that I find online when it comes to men and video games.
When my husband and I first got married, he was addicted to video games. So if your spouse is addicted to video games or sports or anything, listen to this.
But the thing is, if your man or a man doesn't have a gaming addiction, then what precisely is unattractive about this interest? At least in my experience, the women that I have come into contact with or that I'm friends with or that are in my family and whatever don't really view a man's interest in video games as a good or bad thing. What's most important is how he balances his gaming with his life and its many obligations. For example, back in 2020, a TikToker called Alyssa Nguyen actually had to come out and clarify that her gamer husband did indeed take care of her and her kids after she began uploading compilations of her bringing him his nightly dinners. She wrote, "He does all his chores, daddy duties, and husband duties before getting on." One person even asked Nguyen if she was happy with the amount of time her husband gamed. Nguyen responded, "It doesn't bother me at all. He plays a couple hours a night after he gets home from a long shift." And honestly, I think this comment crystallizes a broader point. A lot of people, not only men, use video games as a way to alleviate anxiety, to decompress, to de-stress after.
Yeah, because there are a lot of people who work 8, 10, 12, sometimes 14 to 16-hour shifts. And one of the most common ways for people that come home to help them decompress from those longer shifts is video games. Especially, relaxing video games where they can just shut off their brain. There are people who come home and play, stressful video games like CSGO, Valorant, Call of Duty, but they find that relaxing and it helps them decompress, de-stress from the day's work. So they play for like an hour or two every time they come home. And they still have time to spend time, if they're married or if they have a girlfriend or a kid, they only play for like an hour or two and then they spend the rest of their time with their family and do family shit and chores, all that stuff. But there are people who are single and they play for like 2 to 3, 4, 5 hours because it helps them decompress. So there's nothing wrong with playing video games because it is a great stress reliever. It's one where they can just escape reality and have fun in another one and just get out of their own mind. Now, like she said, doing this constantly and to the point of addiction, that's when it becomes a problem. But the majority of people only do it for a couple hours a day because that's how they decompress and de-stress and everything.
After a long day or a long week or whatever the case may be. And I can actually personally relate to this, and I've actually said this in other videos, where I find nothing more enjoyable after a particularly stressful day than jumping into whatever game I'm playing and just like hacking monsters to death. Because it's cathartic and it stops me from committing murder. That is a joke, Mr. FBI man. I am making a joke. Jokes aside, in addition to being cathartic, it is a good form of escapism. I watched one particular TikTok where a guy was describing escapism in video games as a bad thing, using it as an indicator of depression or a person who hates their life, and that very well might be the case sometimes. This just reiterates that men yearn for the mines. But again, why do people frown on this type of escapism, but not when it comes in the form of books or films or television shows? I genuinely feel like there's...
You know what? For a lot of people, I would rather see them play video games as a way to de-stress than alcohol or drugs. Because video games won't, spontaneously end your fucking life. Whereas alcohol and drugs would. So I'd much rather see people playing video games than destroying their life through drugs and alcohol.
such an unfair double standard when it comes to gaming that isn't equally applied to other entertainment mediums. Yeah, I'm gonna need you all to stop that. In my opinion, the bottom line here is that gaming is, in fact, a legitimate hobby. And I will argue till I am blue in the
If you're not careful, it can be an expensive hobby. So, be financially smart.
face with whoever I need to argue with that many of us ladies would much rather a guy who games in moderation than one who is down at the bar or at the club every single weekend getting drunk. If you are a man and you enjoy video games, that does not make you unattractive, and frankly, it can actually be a really
Can you play League of Legends with a controller?
nice opportunity for bonding with your spouse or girlfriend. And I say this as someone who freaking loves couch co-ops. Like, I recently played the Untitled Goose Game and it was unironically a lot of fun. I have to stay away from the platformers though because I just let everyone down. People who make the claim that gaming is antisocial and will turn men into murder factories genuinely don't seem to understand the nature of gaming and how community-based and collaborative it often is these days. A lot of modern games have a ton of multiplayer features.
Video games are social spaces, how video games help people connect. Yep, exactly.
It allows you to do, like, you know, the teamwork. In a time where people are super disconnected, the gaming world is actually pretty great at helping people make friends and create communities. I'll say as well that there are apparently a bunch of other measurable benefits to playing games, like improvements to cognitive functioning.
Video gaming may be associated with better cognitive performance in children, study suggests. Yes, it helps keep your brain active, and it also helps you with hand-eye coordination.
Problem solving, impulse control, and so on and so forth, but I don't want to get into it, so I don't know, I guess I'll link some of these in the description and you can read them in your own time. There are definitely way more things to add about this specific topic, but the one that I want to leave you with, the last thought that I have here, is that I definitely think that there is an online trend where people can't stand to see men doing things that make them happy.
Men have video games and sports. What do women have?
I actually see this a lot on Twitter, but with relation to women, where people will post a video of...
I would say the most common stereotype hobby women have is, you know, shopping and, you know, just basically spending money and shopping and stuff like that. I would say video gaming is a much cheaper and much more acceptable hobby than the shopping one.
Women just doing something fun and silly and goofy and enjoying themselves, and then this onslaught of comments and responses are mad that the women are having fun. I see that a lot here with this issue, and I absolutely hate it when people do it to both of the sexes. Just shh. Let people enjoy things. Personally, I'm really glad that gaming has become such a positive outlet for so many people. And as far as unattractive interests go, I think it's worth remembering that when it comes to hobbies and relationships, any hobby can become an obstacle, much in the same way that it can also be an asset. If you enjoy something or have a hobby or have a special interest that gets in between you and somebody else, or it is an all-consuming thing that pushes everybody out of your life, well, yeah, I mean, that's a problem. But if you can take an interest or a hobby or a thing that you love and share it with somebody else in an engaging way, or in a way for yourself that passes time but doesn't fill it, I think that's really positive, and honestly, I think that's really all any of us actually want. In the end, if...
Basically everything in moderation. Anything and everything can be dangerous and can kill you in excess. Food, air, water, gaming, shopping. Yeah, pretty much anything can kill you. So, everything in moderation.
If gaming is a thing that you can share with your wife or girlfriend, a thing that you can use to decompress, or even something that has helped you build a really strong community with friendships and positive experiences, no woman in their right mind would consider that a problem. And if they do, I think that says much more about that woman than the gamer himself. Now, on that note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Manu Cora using the link in the description. I unironically love this honey, so I'm really excited about this sponsorship, and I hope you guys love it as well if you decide to give it a crack. Now, I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Is gaming, in fact, unattractive? Are you one of these ladies who just thinks, yuck, I'm not interested, I'm not about this is terrible? Are you a guy who thinks it's unattractive and terrible? Are you somebody who...
I would love to have a girlfriend that games. Means I could always have someone to game. Well, give me your paw for a second. Your claw is stuck, you dumbass. Yeah, I would love to have a girlfriend who games. Because I would love to game with a partner a lot, but I don't. So hopefully someday I can.
Who really likes gaming and likes to share that with your loved ones? Are you somebody who maybe is on the addiction side of things and you can see how bad and damaging all of this can be? Do you think that the commentary around gaming is fair? Is it unfair? And what do you generally make of this issue overall? As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for the full ride. If you are new here and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to the channel, as well as leaving this video a like and a comment, because I do read the majority of them. I really like hearing your feedback and you guys make me laugh. Of course, if you have any video suggestions or video ideas, feel free to let me know, because I do have a running list of those. And as always, I will see you wonderful pretty people in the next video.
All right. That was Sydney Watson's The Attack on Male Gamers Continues. Honestly, I don't see anything wrong with men or women gamers. I think gaming overall is a great thing to do and a great thing to have in your life, because it can help you de-stress, it can help you decompress, it can help you make new friends around the world. But not everybody sees it that way, I guess. Anyways, let me know what you all think in the comments below. Do you find male gamers attractive? Do you find them unattractive? And same with the ladies. Do you find women gamers attractive or unattractive? Do you think it's a good hobby to have? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe for more. I post 3 days a week. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.